Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Where are we at? Oh, episode 90. Hey, that means we're only 10 episodes away from the big 100. How'd that happen? And going by counting the weeks on my calendar, that would put us roughly at December 1st as being the 100th episode.
Who's counting?
Yeah, exactly. Who's counting? So tonight we're going to kind of bring it back to the basics a little bit and talk about the new guarantee period that's starting October 5th, what that means, what that is, and all that fun little stuff. And I think that's
Day relief lists.
Oh yes, the workday relief day work list. I can say that. I promise. I can talk tonight, maybe.
Not the overtime list. It's not the overtime list, people. Do not let management tell you it's the overtime list that you're signing. It is the relief day work list. Okay.
Yes.
I'll get off my soapbox.
We do not have an overtime desired list. That is city side. So the way this MOU keeps going, I'm surprised they haven't started. Anyways. And so, yep, we're going to cover that. Of course, there's the Sunday volunteer list for RCAs and all that fun stuff. Oh, and the new evaluations are supposed to be coming out on Saturday the 28th. So there's a lot going on in these next couple of weeks. But how was your week, James?
Well, pretty standard, normal fare at a swing state for the elections. Political mail every single day. At least this time I didn't have just the presidential campaigns ones. I also had senators and representatives this week, so I'm kind of actually happy that it was a little bit of a change of pace of the political flyers, although I had them every single day. And of course, the Medicare books started coming out because we're coming up on the open enrollment period. So, of course, you have nearly full coverage in a lot of areas, considering how many of the elderly people live in our routes because younger people can't afford homes. I wonder why. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about all of the little things that we put together to make things happen and how we get them delivered on time, even though we have a lot of things working against us. And especially that people who say we can't deliver things on time use us religiously to deliver their advertisements. But we'll not get into that debate. Other than that, this weekend I finally finished up cleaning up my storm damage, except for the tree branch stuck in the tree. Still getting quotes to get that removed. But I did finally replace my flag, my American flag that had been ripped off the pole. So I got a new flag up there. I'll take the old one and drop it off to the VFW for proper disposition. And I'm ready to start another week here and get my evaluations at the end of this week. How about you, Bill?
Oh, in our area, we got hit with WSS, WSH, 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 WSS, WSH, 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 WSS. I mean, I'm sitting there just, I'm throwing 3 of these a day. And when I come back Friday, there was 3 more stacked up for Saturday. And I know the gentleman who put the hold down bid on my route was doing it for the first time. So I expect 2 of them to still be there tomorrow when I go in. The week itself wasn't bad. I mean, weather-wise, it was nice and cool. Only had a little spritz of rain here or there, and we need some rain in Pennsylvania. The customers are, they're all coming out. They're tearful that I'm leaving. And basically, I caught myself the other day, and I'm casing the mail, and I'm like, wow, I put the mail in the slots, I take the mail out of the slots, I put it in the tray, I go out and deliver it, the next day. I put the mail in the case. I pull it out of the case, I put it in the tray. And I'm sitting there, thinking about it. But the unique concept of our job is that we get to go out and see our customers every day, and every day is different, and amusing, to a certain extent, frustrating to a certain extent. And I just had to laugh because Friday I got slammed and going around, and somebody has this spray stream house washing type flyer on almost every mailbox, and I came back with a tub and a half of the things, and the supervisor on duty said, "What are these?" I said, "Well, these are illegal flyers that were attached to mailboxes." "Oh, you can just leave them there." I said, "No, you can't. It's against the law." Says who? And I went and got the A125 and gave him a copy. He said, "I never knew this." I said, "Yeah, that's why you're in management." And I walked away. I mean, it's amazing the amount of information that these people don't pay attention to. And, that's lost income for us. And I've been approached by contractors. "Are you taking them off the mailbox?" "Yeah." "Well, that's against the law." "No, putting them on is against the law. I want them back." Over my dead body. You ain't getting them. Yeah, and the thing of it is, you're protecting your income. And I've actually had conversations with contractors where we turn them over to our business office, and then they start using an EDDM instead of wasting their time putting stuff in or on mailboxes and having it removed by assholes like me. Um, this is a bittersweet week coming up for me. I'm very sad to be leaving, my customers. I feel like I'm almost abandoning them. But after this last incident on Friday, where we were told on Tuesday we couldn't bring hampers out to their trucks at the end of the day to collect our empty equipment. On Friday, we were allowed to, but you couldn't share it with another carrier who was parked right next to you and was bringing their empty equipment in. God forbid we be efficient. Okay. It's the petty ass shit that they focus on that just drives you up the wall. As my God, can you just step back and work together for once? Can you be cooperative in just a menial fashion that doesn't hurt anybody? But I guess they think we're ripping them off by doing that. So that was a big thing on Friday. Having a supervisor wander the parking lot and telling you can't combine your empty equipment with somebody else's. The weather's been good. Like I said, I had my family over all day today and Sun Friday night into Saturday, and just it's been a really nice week. And this last week in my postal career, I'm looking forward to. But like I said, I'm going to miss the hell out of my customers, and worst of all, they're going to miss me. How was your week, Kristen? Grandmom?
It was okay. Monday was a Monday, and still trying to figure out why people leave notices for business closed on Saturdays. Anyways, yeah, I spent Monday cleaning. I spent Monday cleaning up a little bit, but that happens. Tuesday was a really nice day. I knew Monday going in how crappy it was. Tuesday was going to be absolutely nothing, and it pretty much was. I was done at 1:30 on Tuesday. It was great. Wednesday was normal newspapers. Thursday was the Medicare books. Yeah, let's not talk about that day. And then Friday was somewhat normal. A little heavy on the DPS and the flats due to all the political mail coming in. And then Saturday, I did work my K-Day yesterday and walk in and get told, "Oh yeah, Advos are here." Great. Oh well, they're done. Part of the job. But yeah, other than that, my week wasn't too bad. Pretty normal otherwise.
For my last day of the week, I'm going in wearing a Hawaiian shirt, the Bob Marley knit hat, dreads on it.
I can see you doing that.
And I want to see the DM say something to me on my last day. You know how close that door is, asshole? Oh, God. Go home, call EAP and say, "Yeah, I'm emotionally upset. I think I'll take a sick day. I think I have one left."
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And I'll
get
find
a
I'll find out on
couple
my
people.
check stub if the supervisor fixed my annual leave X day fiasco from when I went to National, where she used
Or it didn't happen. Okay.
all of my annual leave instead of the last 2 days being X days. Yeah. Supposedly she gave me a copy of the paperwork, so we'll see if it shows up like she says it's going. But yeah. Yeah.
So who's controlling the conversation tonight, James? Are you sitting back?
It's Kristen's day
Oh,
to lead everything.
I know, and I was looking for something too. Sorry about that. We had another first timer experience come in as well, a little later than the other ones. So there it is. That's what I was looking for.
where'd you go?
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Okay.
I had to go back and look at it because I had to find it real quick. But I found it. I got it. So I'm gonna actually start with that just yet, and I will read this here real quick. Now I haven't read the whole thing through, so I'm winging it. And it says, "Hello, I'm a rural carrier from a state. This was my first time coming to the national convention, and overall, I had a good time. I'm not sure what your personal opinions are or if I'm even allowed to bring this up, but I am fed up with Louis DeJoy and was really disappointed that he didn't accept questions from his audience after his speech. I began warning people about the impending disaster that DeJoy would create, but 4 years later I have realized that it's even worse than I predicted. I've been a carrier for 6 years and I still consider myself a novice, but I have more experience working for USPS than the person who is in charge. But immediately upon assuming his role, he reassigned 23 postal executives, people whose knowledge and experience would certainly have proven valuable. I guess that's not part of his Delivering for America plan, aka the guide to sink the Postal Service. Right away, he removed several mail sorting machines and eliminated turnaround trucks, which caused slower delivery times and mail to start piling up in offices. Customers complained about bills not being paid on time, missing birthday cards, not receiving medications on time, etc. And of course, this was just before election season, during the height of COVID, which meant the Postal Service would be ill equipped to handle the extremely high volume of mail in ballots. Carolyn Lewis, who was the 2009 chair of the USPS Board of Governors, told the Texas Tribune that she had been disturbed by reports of sweeping cost-cutting measures that led to a slowdown in the mail and raised concerns that the Postal Service would not be able to handle an influx of mail-in ballots. Mr. DeJoy is failing to fulfill the mission of the USPS to provide prompt and reliable mail delivery at a time when that mission is important as it has ever been. The Texas Tribune, August 18, 2020. But the impact on the election was just icing on the cake of his real agenda, which involves a rivalry between Donald Trump, who DeJoy is loyal to, and Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. In my opinion, Trump appointed DeJoy to push our organization towards privatization by undermining public confidence in USPS. He outlined a plan to increase the price of postage significantly in a relatively short period and had one plan to shift some postal services to Staples, a private sector business. He eliminated a lot of overtime hours and decided to downsize the postal police force, which has led to an increase in the number of violent attacks against our letter carriers due to the lack of protection. Deploying postal police officers would deter crimes against carriers and is completely at his discretion. And we all know about his current focus on building these SNDC centers in order to consolidate mail processing for several areas into one location. Initially, he claimed there would be no career layoffs or slowed services resulting from this relocation. But it turns out that at each mail processing facility that has been consolidated, an average of 25 jobs were lost, while hundreds of others are now forced to either relocate or commute several hours every day. And rural communities will continue to face even slower mail delivery service. He has plans to reduce the number of daily trucks to smaller rural communities that are not nearby an SNDC. DeJoy stated the Delivering for America initiatives will result in more efficient operations and improved service, but the Postal Service has not been able to provide any analysis, data, or modeling that supports this, and initial results from the few centers that have already opened have not shown improved efficiency or service. He required by law to request an advisory opinion on changes that will impact service, but DeJoy denies anything is wrong and says no one needs to stop him. The Postal Regulatory Commission requested information about large-scale network changes and have suggested changes to his plan, but so far they have been dismissed. So I ask you, who is so arrogant to take over a government-affiliated organization with no experience and then fire the top level of management who probably does know a few things about running the organization, then tells the oversight committee to leave him alone because he knows what he's doing? Louis DeJoy simply doesn't have the temperament for this job, which requires public accountability and cooperation. I guess he didn't get that experience as a rich, white, private sector executive, which reminds me that I haven't even touched on his background. DeJoy was formerly the head of XPO Logistics, which we all know is a competitor of USPS. When he left XPO for USPS, he retained tens of millions of dollars worth of stocks and options in XPO. Coincidentally, a few months later, XPO Logistics was awarded a $20 million contract with USPS. How fortuitous. Excuse me. Big word. Furthermore, he managed two trusts which have substantial investments in companies like CVS and Lockheed Martin. I guess that's why now, after 50 years of flying with FedEx, he said in his speech that we're finally going to buy our own planes and save money. These trusts also hold business interests in Honeywell International, the company that manufactured 300,000 scanners used by postal employees. 1 month after being appointed Postmaster General, he brought 50,000 and 100,000. He bought 50,000 and $100,000 in Amazon buyback stock options. This means an investor buys the right, but not the obligation, to purchase a stock at predefined price. Then he bought 305,000 worth of bonds from Brookfield Asset Management, of which David Bloom is vice chairman. David Bloom is also the chairman of the Postal Service Board of Governors and has stated that DeJoy will always have his support. Why are we still allowing this man to run USPS when he has the most to gain if it fails? In 2020, there was a widely held belief that Trump appointed DeJoy in order to manipulate the election with the mail-in ballots. But really, it's because of Trump's disdain for Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who also owns the Washington Post, which was an early critic of the Trump administration. Trump claimed that Jeff Bezos had taken advantage of USPS while negotiating contracts. His mission to privatize the Postal Service is really due to a personal vendetta against another millionaire. The mail-in ballot fiasco was just icing on the cake. But yeah, that is all I have. That was interesting. Any comments on that, guys?
Gee, who's scratching who's back here, huh?
Right.
I mean, I could totally go into exactly why this plan will fail and stuff like that, but that would take a whole episode in and of itself. The biggest thing that we need to realize and focus on here is that our current national board needs to be focused on taking care of us and fixing the problems that this plan is causing. Now, I put a resolution forward and it got passed at national this year as a non-binding resolution that we disavow the Delivering for America plan as being too costly to rural carriers and too costly to the post office in general. Now, whether they do that or not, it's a take under advisement in a non-binding, but they should, because it is a cost prohibitive plan. They're paying, as Bill has pointed out, they're paying carriers a day of wages per week to drive from the S&DC to their routes. That is 8 hours a week that they are not getting any revenue out of these carriers. And that's a single carrier each. So if you have 12 routes going out of there, that's 12 days. That's a full week, a full pay period of hours you're paying out.
And James, don't forget, with that extra mileage is the cost of gas, the cost of maintenance, the wear and tear in those vehicles. The longer you're on the road, the more likely you're going to have an accident. Everything that they're doing is just it's against common sense and it's against fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, but instead we are focused on Rex towards the rural carriers and cutting as much of them as possible. trying to get them down to the minimum guarantee pay, which I believe you said it before, Kristen, that somebody told you that we should go back to the basics and talk about how carriers should learn how to survive on the minimum guaranteed pay. I mean, what do they want us to teach them how to get food stamps and WIC? Is that what they want us to do?
No, but I will touch on the guaranteed pay in a little bit.
I mean, pretty much until we get a new contract that raises our pay, we're going to be just like the airline stewardesses of the feeder airlines that were paid very little and had to get food stamps, WIC, and other government assistance because they could barely afford their own bills, let alone take care of themselves. So they had to get supplemental incomes with government assistance. Is that what they want us to be doing? Just something for people to think about. But let's get into the topics you wanted to discuss, Kristen.
Well, Relief Day work lists should have been posted in the offices on the 14th through the 27th, which will be this coming up Friday. That is the sign-up period for the Relief Day work list that will go in effect with the new guarantee period October 5th. October 5th starts technically the new guarantee period, guaranteed year, I should say, which is also in line with the standard fiscal year. So October 1st through the end of September. That is why the guarantee period starts the first pay period starting in October. So, with that being said, a lot of that is explained in the contract under Article 9, Section 2, which is your compensation, allowance, and fees. And that all describes the Fair Labor Standards Act, which is what our compensation falls under. The FSLA Section 7B2, to be precise. I am not going to read this whole thing, but I will touch on the 2240 and the 2080, which I know there are many, many carriers who are above both. Basically, I will read a little bit of a section, the first section of Section A, Part A, Section 1. It does say it is desired by the parties that the certain rural letter carriers shall be employed on an annual basis at a guaranteed annual wage, which is your guaranteed annual wage is what you see on your 4241A on the bottom right-hand corner where it says guaranteed salary. That is your guaranteed annual wage. And that such rural carriers should not be required to actually work more than 2240 hours during the guarantee period of 52 consecutive weeks is specified below pursuant to Section 7B2 of the Fair Labor Standards Act. And then under that, regular rural carriers receiving evaluated compensation assigned to the routes having the number of evaluated hours of required service per week shall be guaranteed an annual wage equal to the corresponding amount of their attained step for 2080 hours of actual work during the guarantee period of the 52 consecutive weeks as set forth in paragraph H below. If you skip on down to paragraph H, that says for all regular rural carriers compensated pursuant the FLSA section 7B2, the 52 consecutive week guarantee periods shall be consecutive beginning and ending with pay periods, which is where we're at, where the one ends on October 4th and the new guarantee pay starts on October 5th.
All right. I want to read Article 8.5 about Relief Day work for the Relief Day work list so people understand why we're doing it now,
Yes.
if I could.
Go right ahead.
So it's Article 8.5 in our currently assigned contract that Section A, the Relief Day work list at each delivery unit, so that's each office, not that's the unit whole, shall be established twice during each guarantee period. The Relief Day work list will be posted for a 2-week period. Each time the new Relief Day work list is established, it shall supersede the previous list. All regular carriers, regardless of route classification, desiring to work their relief days shall place their names on the Relief Day work list. The first opportunity to sign the Relief Day work list will be 3 weeks prior to the beginning of the new guarantee period, and will be effective at the beginning of the new guarantee period. The second opportunity to sign the relief day work list will be 3 weeks prior to the beginning of the first full pay period in May and will be effective the first full pay period of May. When a regular carrier is needed to work a relief day due to the unavailability of a leave replacement, the employer will select carriers on the list in order of seniority on a rotating basis to work the relief day. 2, if the need still exists, the employer will accept volunteers from regular carriers not on the list before requiring carriers not on the list to work the relief day. Such requirement will be by juniority. 3, a regular rural carrier will not be required to work if the carrier has at least 1 day of annual leave, including an approved X day, or sick leave adjacent to the relief day. B, on the day the regular carrier works the relief day, the assigned leave replacement may be required to work any route in the delivery unit consistent with the provisions of this agreement. Administrative errors in the assignment of work to regular carriers on relief days will not result in monetary remedies. C, the employer is not required to work any regular carrier on a relief day if the assigned primary leave replacement is in the first 2 pay periods of assignment in the office, or it would cause the carrier to exceed the hours of the annual guarantee or 56 actual hours within 1 week. Right there, we go back to the FLSA on that last part.
We do. Let me pull it back. All right, and then we're going to jump back up into 9.2.B. Consistent with past pay practices, evaluated carriers assigned to the routes having evaluated hours in excess of 40 hours per week shall receive compensation for such hours in addition to their guaranteed annual wage. However, the employer may at any time reduce or increase such carriers' total compensation by adjusting such carriers' total compensation by, I'm rereading stuff here. However, the employer may at any time reduce or increase such carriers' total compensation by adjusting the number of evaluated hours of their routes downward or upward, but not to a salary level below the guarantee set forth at the beginning of the guarantee period. Therefore, compensation paid to evaluated carriers in excess of the amount of compensation annually guaranteed for 2080 hours of actual work shall not be considered guaranteed annual wages. Basically, your guaranteed pay is what your current step is at the 40-hour rate. An employer may at any time increase the total compensation paid evaluated carriers assigned to routes having the evaluated hours of 40 hours per week or less by adjusting the number of evaluated hours of their routes upward. However, compensation paid to such evaluated carriers in excess of the amount of compensation annually guaranteed for 2080 hours of actual work shall not be considered guaranteed annual wages. It's a lot of reading in here, folks. I didn't think I was going to read it all, but we might as well. Because it's important. Regular roll.
Otherwise,
What was
they
that?
don't have to work it. Otherwise, they don't have to work it, and you're not guaranteed the overtime.
Exactly. Regular roll carriers receiving non-evaluated compensation assigned to routes having a number of paid miles shall be guaranteed an annual wage not less than the corresponding amount for their attained step for 2080 hours of actual work during the 52 consecutive week period as set forth in paragraph H below. I do believe that would be a mileage route, and I do believe we only have one of those left as I last in the country. Consistent with pay practices, non-evaluated carriers assigned to routes having 43 or more paid miles shall receive compensation for such paid miles in addition to their guaranteed annual wage. However, the employer may at any time reduce or increase such carriers' total compensation by adjusting the number of paid miles of their routes downward or upward, but not to a salary level below the guarantee set forth at the beginning of the guarantee period. Therefore, compensation paid to non-evaluated carriers in excess of the amount of compensation annually guaranteed for 2080 hours of actual work should not be considered guaranteed annual wages. The employer may at any time increase the total compensation paid non-evaluated carriers assigned to routes having 42 or less paid miles per week by adjusting the number of paid miles of the routes upward. However, compensation paid to such non-evaluated carriers in excess of the amount granted for 2080 hours of actual work shall not be considered guaranteed annual wages. All right. And then we're going to get into...
And while you're going through all the double speak of, the guaranteed above,
Yes.
adjusting the down, adjusting upwards, this all works in the benefit of management. There's nothing there for our benefit whatsoever. It's management's decision to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And, just like, I have an overburdened K route. I'm at 67 plus hours, and yet my pay is capped at 9.6 hours a day. Well, there's plenty of us out there saying, well, how do we get compensated for this excess work that we do every day? And the answer is, we don't.
Nope, we don't.
There's one lopsided ass contract, and the FSLA really needs to be either thrown out or renegotiated in regards to how it applies towards rural carriers.
I agree. In many instances, it definitely needs to be updated, that's for sure.
Well, if you want to get the Fair Labor Standards Act updated, we need to contact our congressmen and women because they're responsible for the FLSA.
All right, FSLA Section 7A. This falls under those that are 35 hours or less. So if your route is considered substandard, the following employees shall be compensated in accordance with FLSA Section 7A. Evaluated carriers assigned to routes having less than 35 hours of required service per week. Regular rural carriers receiving non-evaluated compensation to routes having less than 31 paid miles. Part-time flexible substitutes, rural carrier associates, RCRs, and ARCs. Employees appointed as a regular rural carriers during the guarantee period not covered by Section 7B2 of the Fair Labor Standards Act. Those are the ones that decide they want to go hourly for the rest of the guarantee period when they first go regular, which I don't know. I knew my route, so it wasn't a big deal for me.
But for those who bid onto an overburdened route that's not going to get cut, taking the hourly way is a way to make sure you get paid for all the hours that you work on that overburdened route.
But they can also hold you to 40 hours as well, to the 2080. That is one of the
Good luck
big...
with that one.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a downfall to doing that when you first go full time, is management can keep you at the 2080 at the 40 hours a week. So that's, given the circumstances with hiring and retention, that's obviously not always going to be the case anyways. So those that are in 2080 and 2240 issues, this is a little bit, covers it a little bit under there. It's under the 9.2.A 1.I is where I'm going to start. Any regular rail carrier compensated pursuant to the FSLA Section 7B2 shall receive overtime compensation as set forth in paragraph K below for hours actually worked in excess of 12 hours in any one day or in excess of 56 hours in any work week. All hours paid in accordance with Article 9.2.C.5.F3 shall not be included in the hours worked over 56 hours in any work week. In the event any regular rural carrier compensated pursuant to FLSA Section 7B2 is required to actually work more than 2080 hours within the 52 consecutive week guarantee period, such carrier shall receive overtime compensation as set forth in paragraph K below for all hours actually worked in excess of 2080 up to 2240 within the guarantee period. All hours paid in accordance with the overtime article shall not be included in hours worked in excess of 2080 up to 2240 in the guarantee period. Now here's paragraph K. Overtime compensation for regular rural carriers compensated pursuant to the FLSA Section 7B2 shall be paid at the rate of 150% of the carrier's regular rate. The regular rate for such carriers shall be the total amount of compensation earned for hours actually worked since commencement of the guarantee period, excluding previous overtime pay, divided by the total number of hours the carrier has actually worked since commencement of the guarantee period, excluding previous overtime hours. For regular rail carrier compensated under FLSA Section 7B2, Christmas overtime compensation, if appropriate, shall be paid in a regular check following the pay period worked. Any Christmas overtime hours at the FLSA overtime rate shall not be included in hours worked in excess of 2080 up to 2240 in the guarantee period. No regular rural carrier compensated pursuant to FLSA Section 7B2 may actually work in excess of 2240 hours within the 52 consecutive week guarantee period. In the event any such carrier actually works more than 2240 hours within the guarantee period, the agreement under FLSA Section 7B2 will be considered void, and such carrier shall be compensated for all hours actually worked during the guarantee period in accordance with the FLSA Section 7A. So, as I know, I've heard many of them that are over the 2240, so they're not getting paid for that right now. It's just crazy, guys, and I get it. We only got a couple more weeks left of this, for this year anyways.
And then we started all over again.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. There was...
I hate to say that I'm going to miss it.
No, you're going to miss your customers and you're going to miss hanging out with your coworkers.
And my dogs and my kids. Yeah, I know.
Well, the dogs are your
Over the-
customers too.
Well, I got 147 dogs and I don't have one vet bill. That's the best pet owner you could ever have.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny because of the fact that, customers, that have the dogs that are, like, well, they're going to miss you. I'm like, well, I'll come by and visit, Really? No. I do have some customers I actually will visit because I look in on them. There's a couple elderly customers I pay, strict attention to. And there's a couple that are, friends of mine over the years. So I've known some of them for over 20 years. And like I said, we've established, those family-like connections. That I'll miss. Who's the smart ass that said I have till Thursday to change my mind?
Yes, Bill, you have till Thursday to change your mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bill's mind's pretty well made up.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if we were still in Westchester, I'd consider, another year. But, at this SDNC, no, I don't see the worth of risking my life on a major highway during a snowstorm. I mean, LLV with chains at 30 miles an hour. No, my life's worth more than that. Like I tell everybody, you're the most important delivery of the day. Well, I'm not going to put my ass at risk for that just because, the supervisor didn't bother checking out a smoky smell and we got transported up to the SDNC and now we're working for, a Hitler-like individual who doesn't care. He's so uncompassionate. We had several people address him in regards to having a cake for me on Friday. And you know what he said? I'm not fond of stuff like that, so no.
Crazy. I had a postmaster that would pay for the retirement party if he couldn't make it and always made sure that there was a cake and goodies and a potluck and everything else anytime somebody retired.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, 9
years ago.
Yeah,
in
that
galaxy
was
far away.
Exactly. And they have since retired.
Yeah.
But with the guarantee period starting October 5th, those of us who have accumulated X days prior to that have not used those X days that you acquire prior to the beginning of the new guarantee period will be frozen until after Christmas overtime. Any X days that you earn during that time between October 5th and, if I looked correctly, December 27th this year, those will have to be taken within the same pay period or they will be paid out as a DAC of 5 at the overtime rate. Yes, the relief day work list is per delivery unit, and the RCAM says the delivery unit is defined as being under the control of one postmaster or station manager. So that's for the relief day work list.
Which in the case of my SD&C, we are under one postmaster right now.
Yes.
250 carriers.
Yep. So yeah. So any X days that
he's all over it.
Any X days that you earn prior to October 4th that are or October 5th that are not used by October 4th will be frozen until December 28th, basically. I earned one yesterday.
I love that movie.
And then any X days that you earn between October 5th and December 27th will have to be used within the same pay period, or they will be paid out for that pay period under the DACA 550%, which actually will fall right into me because I am actually working October 5th. So we'll see what happens if I end up getting an extra day, a different day off, or if I will just take the overtime. We'll see what happens. What's going on in the office at that time.
Oh,
and
Table 2, take the money, honey.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking. And no, I am not signing the relief day work list again. Not doing it.
Neither am I.
Don't blame ya. You don't have to.
Yeah, I love people going, "Hey, Bill, you gonna come back as a Hark?" Like, yeah, right. Sure.
So
where do I sign up?
So touching on what James was saying before and what we kind of basically touched on with the guaranteed salary, it was brought up as a good topic to talk about with living within your means, I should say, because we're not always going to be guaranteed. And where they're coming from on this is, we may be 41 through a 48K, but that's not always going to be guaranteed. Whether it's route cuts, mini mail surveys, interim adjustments, that 40-hour guaranteed salary at your step, what they were saying is basically, living within those means, which I understand, especially for Table 2 carriers, it is difficult. And I completely understand that. Because that could be a good chunk of change. Because technically, the way it is, 40 hours, the 2080, that's your guaranteed salary. Your 1 through 8 there, if you're a 41 through a 48, that is the overtime pay incorporated into your route salary, your evaluation. So, I totally get and understand where they're coming from on that. And it is actually, in some cases, a good point of advice, especially for those that might be right on that cusp of maybe falling under 40 hours. And so if that happens after the guarantee starts, you'll still be guaranteed that guaranteed salary. That's what that means there, is if your route falls below the 40 hours, you're going to be paid that guaranteed salary till the end of that current guarantee period only. And then starting the next one, your salary could be different if your route is still less than 40 hours.
Now the question begs to be asked, is that if you have a mini mail survey and the route goes down even more, do we still get that guaranteed salary until the next pay period?
To the next guarantee?
Yep.
It's only between guarantee to guarantee.
Yep.
Yep. And then your guarantee salary will change with that next guarantee period if you're still substandard. Unfortunately. It goes between beginning of the guarantee period to the end. I'm going to turn this over to you guys real quick. I need to step away from the mic for a moment. So have fun, gentlemen.
Well, I think
she had to call us gentlemen.
Wow.
How dare she?
Yeah, and I think that having to figure out how to live off of wages that are adjusted every 6 months is the toughest way for anybody to deal with life, and having a guarantee minimum pay for carriers sucks for them. I understand it's the minimum they have to pay you, but being at the minimum is the worst place to be. It's already bad enough when you're on table 2 versus table 1, but then if you're a table 2er and you go down to the guarantee salary, it's even worse. And I alluded to this earlier in the episode when I said you'll have to apply for food stamps and stuff like that. And it's actually possible to be low enough to be able to get food stamps while working at the Postal Service, especially if you're a single parent with kids. WIC, Women, Infant, Children, is another one. But having to get supplemental funds just to be able to support the bare minimum for yourself. I'm upset that we even have to think of that stuff in an industry that was a coveted job not too long ago. In an industry where people wanted to work here because of the benefits, the wages. And now we're getting beat out even by Walmart in places. We're getting beat out by the big three automakers. We're getting beat out by most other unions. And now, not only are we waiting on something to happen, other crafts are waiting for something to happen. City carriers over 500 days, or almost to 2 years without a contract. How long is it going to take us to get one? You know, people got told at national convention that it's 99% done. Well, what's the 1% holdup? Oh, wait, no transparency. That's right. I forgot about that. But then again, if you ask Brian Renfro from the NALC, he'll say that the NRLCA and APWU are doing fake negotiations. So your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, it's like the lady I brought up who's a 41J who qualified for a low-income housing grant. How sad is that? You're a federal employee and you qualify for a low-income housing grant. I mean, you might as well be on welfare, really. And Table 2 it is such a slap in the face, and I feel deeply sorry for the people who are trying to make it while raising a family. Because if I had to do it, trust me, I mean, we'd be eating a lot of pork and beans. You know, I just I don't understand it. Not with the cost of car insurance, home insurance, mortgage payments, food bills. I mean, me and my wife today, okay, we bought a couple extra things, for our family coming over today, but we spent $179 on groceries. And we didn't buy one piece of red meat. It's just, it's ludicrous. And, my heart goes out to these people because of the fact that they got to be struggling. I know they are. I've seen enough stories about it, and it just breaks my heart. And to think that our leadership is, oh, we listen to you. Well, yeah, we understand. No, you don't. You don't. You're living in $900,000 houses, making $180,000 plus. You're bidding on routes to pad your high three from the post office. No, you don't understand. And you don't understand working more than 9.6 hours, and that's the maximum that you can be paid for. I had to explain that to a supervisor why everybody on the overburdened K routes all get 9.6 hours, but their actual hours are 60 plus hours above. And we're not being compensated for anything above 57.36. That's unfair. Of course it's unfair. But until we get changes to the FSLA, because the way the law is written, guess what? We're screwed.
Yeah. Well,
And this is one of the issues where, some people actually are talking about going hourly. God help it. God help the people who want to go hourly, because then you can become a city carrier, you'll be doing pivots. If you get done under your so-called evaluation, they're going to force you to take more out.
yeah.
No, let's not go down that path.
Our leave goes from days to hours.
Mhm.
And yeah, like you said, and on top of that, they're going to turn around and say, "Oh, well, our computer says that your route's going to be 6 hours today. So here's 2 hours on top of that to make your 8, or you have to take 2 hours of leave at the end of the day." But I did find this in the F21 time and attendance, and it is section 568, salary protection, and it reads as follows: 568.1, entitlement. If a carrier's route is reduced and the carrier is entitled to the guaranteed salary established at the beginning of the guarantee year based upon the national agreement, the carrier may also be entitled to salary protection for the remainder of the 2 calendar years. The guaranteed salary is set at the employee's step at the beginning of the guarantee year and is entitled to all contractual increases. If the route was reduced for the benefit of the Postal Service, and if the carrier qualifies for salary protection, refer to ELM 421.51 and 421.511. Decimal 2. How it works. As an example, the route is a 44H route, and the annual salary is $38,889. The route is reduced to a 38H route in pay period 14 because the Postal Service added the territory to another route. The carrier is entitled to the guaranteed salary and COLA of a 40-hour route until the end of the guaranteed period. If at the end of the guaranteed period, the carrier is entitled to salary protection for the remainder of the 2 years, the salary protection would expire in pay period 13 2 years later. The protected salary would be the basic salary of a 40-hour route and the COLA of a 38-hour route. The carrier is entitled to all salary increases related to the 40-hour route. If the route exceeds 40 hours during the 2-year protection period, the protected salary would terminate automatically.
Therein lies just another problem with our contract because of the fact that there are so many, integrals in computing your pay and your protection, your minimum guaranteed. Most people don't even bother, they don't even understand that, but let alone would be bothered to look that up, James.
Yeah. And
That's one of the benefits of the podcast is that, we're here to help you because of the fact that this is so convoluted. You need to be a lawyer to understand it.
And if you caught that, the little piece in there that takes just a little bit away from the carrier, even with the guaranteed salary, where it said you get the basic salary of a 40-hour route and the cost of living adjustment of a 38-hour route if you're a 38H. So if you're a 35H, you get the cost of living adjustment of a 35H route instead of the basic 40-hour route that you would normally get. So if your route is substandard, you're getting less of an increase. And on top of that, if you're table 2, you're already getting less of a COLA increase already compared to where you are, unless you're at the top step of table 2, you're getting a percentage on that. But this is even worse because not only are you on that percentage, but you're even lower with the under-houred route. So you're getting screwed over there too.
Just another example of nickel and diming us to death.
Mm-hmm.
Except for in this case, it's several $100s at a time.
Yeah. Same with every evaluation change. All these overburdened routes, if they're 48K and they go down to 43, that's a almost $5,000 difference in pay right there. Minimum.
More than that.
I mean, I'm talking about table 2, step 1.
Oh, okay. Well,
so table 2.
1.
Well, it's actually. Let me calculate this out here, so I'm not considered as mistaken here. But I'm talking about. So it's a difference between 48K and 43K is before taxes 11,124. So after taxes, it would be right around $5,000 if you have a decent plans on your insurance and, of course, the 5% matching.
In table 1, a gross salary would drop $14,000.
Excuse me, that was table 1. It's 11,124 on table 1, step A.
No, I'm looking at step 12. That's where I'm at.
Okay. And table 2, step 1 difference is $9,441. So top step is a difference of $13,659.
Yeah.
So I will say that there are carriers out there that are so overburdened on their routes right now that they're willing to take that pay cut to get their routes cut down so they can have more time with their family at home. That's worth more than that money that they would get from the Postal Service to them. And I totally understand that because, as you say, Bill, they're the most important delivery, getting home to their loved ones. And they want to have that time with their loved ones instead of being out there 12, 13, 14 hours delivering stuff because their route is super overburdened. Like somebody said earlier in the chat, one of the routes is 125 standard hours right now.
Well, remember, no amount of money has ever bought a second of time.
That is correct.
And yes, that's from the Marvel series.
Gotta love the Marvel.
That Tony Stark said to his father.
Yes.
And he was quoting his father while talking to his father, which is kind of, parallel universe there.
All right. The one thing we didn't touch on so much was the alongside the relief day work list is the Sunday volunteer list for RCAs and PTFs. I do believe they're on there. Somebody correct me if I am wrong. However, that
Yes,
one.
they're on there.
However, that is a little different because all the names are then listed on the form and you check off yes or no for the Sunday work list. Hold up, I have a copy of it right here. It's been over
ARCs first,
Yep.
RCAs, PTFs, and then the RCAs with hold downs.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or
I've got the document right here. It's the MOU for Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list, and it says to start with, the parties recognize the importance, blah blah blah. In order to have sufficient rural carrier leave replacements available to complete Sunday holiday parcel delivery, a Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list will be established for part-time flexible rural carriers, substitute rural carriers, rural carrier associates, and rural carrier relief employees. Assistant rural carriers will not be included on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list as these employees are hired specifically to work on Sundays and holidays. This list will be established within 30 days of the effective date of this Memorandum of Understanding. Future lists will be established during the same time periods as the Relief Day Work List, Article 8.5a, and each new list shall supersede the previous list. There will be no Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list utilized upon collapse of the hub concept during peak season. Management will utilize ARCs first, then utilize leave replacements within their own offices, and then may borrow leave replacements as needed to complete Sunday holiday parcel delivery during the hub collapse. To establish the initial list, let's see here if there's anything else. Newly hired RCAs will be afforded the opportunity to place their name on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list as volunteers within 60 days of hire. If these rural carriers choose not to sign the volunteer list at this time, they will be placed on the non-volunteer list. When it is necessary to schedule rural carrier leave replacements for Sunday holiday parcel delivery, management will first utilize any ARCs assigned to the hub location or associated spoke offices. If there are no ARCs assigned to these locations or an insufficient number of ARCs, management at the hub location will then select leave replacements from the volunteer list on a rotating basis. If there is an insufficient number of leave replacements on the volunteer list, management will schedule leave replacements from the non-volunteer list, also on a rotating basis. Rural carrier associates serving vacant regular routes or serving regular routes during the extended absence of the regular carriers, including the first 90 days before becoming a designation 74, will not be scheduled for Sunday holiday parcel delivery unless all leave replacements from both the volunteer and non-volunteer lists are scheduled. Leave replacements on both the volunteer and non-volunteer Sunday holiday parcel delivery work lists will be bypassed in the rotation if the leave replacement has approved leave or an approved non-scheduled day adjacent to Sunday or the holiday. However, the leave replacement on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list may notify management in writing that he or she does not wish to be bypassed in this circumstance, provided notice is given at the time the leave is requested. In addition, management may bypass leave replacements for Sunday holiday parcel delivery if such assigned work hours would result in the leave replacement exceeding 40 hours at the end of the work week. And that's a bridge version of the MOU.
And how many leave replacement carriers don't work 40 hours a week?
Not many anymore.
Yeah.
Well, my office.
I was going to say, you still have those unicorn offices that are,
for
the most part, fully staffed, but those are definitely a needle in a haystack
I'm not fully
at times.
I'm not fully staffed. It's just that a lot of our RCAs the top few RCAs come in and actually work the routes that they need to work when they need to, and the others just work the scheduled release days.
And then you have offices that have absolutely none.
Yep.
And then you have offices that only have a few. We're down to 1, 2 in the aux carrier right now. Suppose we got a new one in the pipeline, so we'll see how that works out.
I think we're one short of having enough to cover Saturday, Monday relief days in my office, if I'm not mistaken.
Subs want Sunday off.
Yeah, subs want Sunday off.
I don't blame them. I mean, when I got in my first office, after Amazon came in, and I was high enough up on the food chain that I think I was only like second in line at that time. I took when the sign up came around for the second time, I took myself off of it. I'm like, nope, I've had enough. I'm good.
Yeah,
And I can't blame them for wanting to have the time off with their families and everything. But when I joined up, I know what I was signing up for in regards to working every Saturday, because the regulars were getting Saturdays off and the subs weren't. I mean, it's plain and simple as that. It was explained to me in detail that you're going to work every Saturday. Okay, I mean, when Amazon came along, okay, I was a regular for years, and I signed up to help in case you had subs who wanted off, and there was times that I worked it. So I mean, I can understand wanting to spend time with your family, and I can understand it that when you need money. But the thing of it is that that's your primary duty, and then I'm sorry to say that the contract doesn't work in your favor on that.
And that's the biggest issue with the hiring system now, is they don't get that one-on-one with management to actually get an explanation of what they're potentially be working and the days that they'll be working, their assigned day. They're not getting that anymore like they did when I got hired in nearly a decade ago. It's they come in and then I've got to work every Saturday, or it's I don't know. I don't agree. The hiring process hasn't gotten any better with what they so call fast track hiring. I don't know what's fast about it, and I really think a lot of it needs to be brought back down to the office level.
Amen.
I really do. I really think it needs to be brought back down to the office level in one way or another, to before somebody accepts the position, just for the sheer fact that they don't know right offhand what they're getting themselves into. We still can't fill our POV position for the sheer fact that we all know how difficult it is to find a vehicle, and anybody that's coming in as an RCA, regardless, more than likely cannot afford to buy something, let alone try and afford a right-hand drive, whether it's new or used, let alone another vehicle that will allow them to be able to deliver the mail, or conversion kits. They may not be able to afford that. I mean, that's where I'm looking at right now. Ruby's still looking at applying next month after she turns 18, and she wants the POV route. So now I am in the process of trying to find a vehicle that I know that can easily put pedals in it, or something that she'll be able to straddle to deliver out of. It is difficult. All right, guys, we're going to wind this down for tonight.
Well, I do have a couple.
Go ahead.
I have a couple of announcements to make. So one of the big things coming out now is we need to get a hold of our congressmen and women, because there is the USPS Shipping Equity Act, which would help increase shipping revenues for the Postal Service and put us in line with the private sector in terms of delivering alcoholic beverages. So I would take the time to contact your senators and representatives. And if you want a form letter that the NRLCA has, it is available in the news section on the website. But it says that it could generate $190 million annually in new revenue for the Postal Service. It would be the same as like delivering medication, 21 years of age, need to verify when you deliver. But it would just allow us to be able to bring in more revenue into the Postal Service, plus increase our route evaluation if we're delivering alcoholic beverages to people. So I would contact your senator or representative on that.
Which, in honesty, procedure-wise, wouldn't be much different than having to deliver medication that requires 21 and over to sign.
Yeah. And then the other piece that I wanted to talk about was being safe in hazardous weather conditions, because I just saw a picture of a mattress with a tree on top of it. Pay attention to your surroundings when you're outside, not just for people attempting to cause problems, nature causing problems. If you hear a tree creaking in a way that you haven't heard before when you're standing at a CBU or driving past it, I mean, granted, with the LOV and FFE, you probably won't really hear it too well with the truck rattle, but just pay attention not only to what's at ground level, but what's above you, because trees can be what they call widow makers in the uh, arborist societies. You know, with your have big branches coming down, especially ones that have broken off and are sharp on the tip, it can kill you. So be careful out there. I know that hurricane season is starting to ramp up again, and there's a possibility of more of those coming up, including one possibly forming in the Gulf here soon. So we're going to have to keep an eye on our surroundings and the weather and stuff like that. Plus, we're coming into fall season, so we're going to start getting areas that are going to start getting ice and snow. So be mindful out there. Be careful. You guys have anything else?
Good.
I'm good, I think. I'll remember it afterwards.
Usually that's how it works.
Be like, oh, yeah, remind me, we got to talk about this next week. I'm good, guys. I just think it was a good point to touch on the FLSA, especially with the winding down of this guarantee period and the starting of the new one. And yeah, it's a lot. I mean, like, definitely go check out Article 9 of the contract when you get a moment and want to scramble your brain and legalese. You gotta kind of somewhat talks about it. And I did not read every paragraph in there, so no. All right.
It'll make you go brain dead. It
It, it,
really
it,
will.
it will. It will. Unfortunately, it does. But it was definitely need to be touched on. All right, James, your final thoughts for this evening?
We know that our contract, our MOUs, our manuals, and all those things are almost impossible for a standard normal person to understand. Hell, there are a lot of people out there that should know exactly every single word that are in those that don't understand them. And by working together as a cohesive group, we can learn everything we need to know about them and how we can use those to protect ourselves when management, who also doesn't understand them, brings us falsehoods about them. Remember, management would rather climb a tree to lie than stand on the ground to tell the truth, especially when it benefits the Postal Service. Everything management does is to benefit the Postal Service. It's not to benefit you. So be mindful. Try to learn as much as you can and just understand we don't expect everybody to know everything. But with a well informed group of individuals working cohesively and together, uniting as one, we can stand up and show management we're all in this together. Bill?
Well, as I approach the last week of my postal career, I'm kind of, reminisce about the fact that I always thought this was the easiest job I ever had in my life when I first started. Uh, and it's grown to the point of being one of the most frustrating jobs I've ever had because of the fact that all of us have to deal with management that is uninformed, unintelligent, ignorant of the contract, and they are more fearful for their positions from people above them than we are of anybody in management. And it's a shame that consider the fact that you live in that type of atmosphere when you go to work. Why can't it be a nice cohesive flow of mail, parcels, information, assistance, cooperation? It just befuddles me that it's so antagonistic. every day. And, with me being moved up to an SDNC, it's like, really, if you've never, if haven't been exposed to an SDNC, you really can't comprehend where they're actually saving money at any point. It's part of the Joyce plan, maybe privatize the post office. I don't know. I don't trust anybody that's in the position of authority who's making decisions that basically pads their own pockets. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, everybody from our national board, everybody from the post office, I find it to be in bed with each other. And it's a shame that I feel that type of angst, that our leadership does not represent our best interests. And I feel for the people who, James and Tristan and everybody else that's listening to podcasts, to continue down this career path. Um, I would not want anybody in my family to ever work for the post office. I wouldn't have said that 10, 15 years ago. Nowadays, yes, I think that there are better paths out there, and if you can, use them. If you're kind of, hell bent into the situation where you have to stay, then God bless you. Make the best of it. Do your jobs as best as you can, efficiently, safely, and help others around you. Help the carriers who don't know enough, don't know anything. Protest management every chance you get when they're wrong. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for others. Be united in the front that you present against management when they try to abuse the contract, abuse a carrier. Because, like James says, we're all in this together. And if you don't stand up for each other, they're going to pick you off. As I've always said, if they do it to one, they'll do it to the rest of us. So help protect the craft, help protect each other. Even if it's just your own office, let alone your local chapter or anything, stand up for each other. Put your petty differences aside and, present that united front. That's the only way we're going to beat them. And as I always say, be safe out there. Make sure you get home to your loved ones, because you're the most important delivery of the day. And I mean that.
Thank you guys. We definitely appreciate it. Like I said, we're trying to get back to the basics here a little bit. Started tonight. Not quite sure what subjects we'll touch on next week. Maybe a 4241M we'll go over again. Just because of the new evaluations coming out with the 4241As and 4241Ms on Saturday. Maybe we'll touch on that. We'll see what's going on. Anything else happens this week that we feel that we need to bring up, we definitely will. But yeah, guys, just stay safe out there. Pay attention to your surroundings. Thankfully, that carrier was not severely injured in that tree falling on that mattress. They were able to get out of the vehicle through the left-hand door. But yeah, please, guys, stay safe out there. Stay vigilant, and get home to your loved ones. And and watch out for everybody in your office. Somebody always needs to, even if it's the slightest little thing of letting them know that you care, that may just make somebody's day. They may just be having an off day, and just letting them know, hey, are you okay? You doing all right? Or, hey, if you don't quite understand this, let me explain it to you in terms that you may understand it better. Something like that. We got to watch out for each other. But on that note, guys, take care, have a safe week, and we'll be back next week.
Please scan flats then letters. Please scan flats then letters.